We kindly manage the phones. I will manage mine also. I would wish that it doesn't become the problem when we start the program today. I also made another request to everybody who will get an opportunity to speak, that kindly we make it brief so that we can allow the president to speak when our concentration levels are still up there. We have agreed. Na nitaomba sana, and I wish to seek your indulgence for self-restraint. I know it happens when you get here and get an opportunity. There is a lot that we want to say, but most kindly, thank you. And thank you for understanding that. Band, some Kenyan music. Thank you.
Majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, kuna ndege za mitambo. Majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, kuna ndege wa mitambo. Moyo wangu wanituma mema, niwe mwanachama wa daima. Sitaweza kuiwacha rumba bila moyo kunituma. Moyo wangu wanituma mema, niwe mwanachama wa daima. Sitaweza kuiacha rumba ila moyo kunituma. Harambee, 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 tuicheze rumba. Harambee, 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 tuicheze rumba. Majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, kuna ndege wa mitambo. Majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, majengo siendi tena, kuna ndege wa mitambo. Moyo wangu wanituma mema, niwe mwanachama wa daima. Sitaweza kuiacha rumba ila moyo kunituma. Moyo wangu wanituma mema, niwe mwanachama wa daima. Sitaweza kuiacha rumba ila moyo kunituma. Harambee, 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 tuicheze rumba. Harambee, 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 tuicheze rumba. siku nyingi wanipokea kwa uzuri siku zote. Wakati sina wanipa nitakacho, usiti nisemacho, kwako sawa waniombea Mungu. Moyoni mwangu najua nina rafiki huyu wa kweli, hakuna yule atakuja kati yetu. Wakati sina wanipa nitakacho, usiti nisemacho, kwako sawa waniombea Mungu. Oh, kuna watu na viatu duniani. Oh, kuna watu wasiopenda maendeleo. Oh, ukiwa nacho tawauma ndani kwa ndani. Achana nao, waepuke haraka sana. Hivi majuzi nilipata kazi nzuri, nikaja kukueleza. Mtu wa kwanza nilikuwa rafiki yangu, nilifurahi na kuruka huku nikitaja jina lake Mola, lakini kukuangalia mwako usoni umesononeka, ukaanza kusonya ukirusha mikono, sura umeikunja, kumbe ukufurahi mafanikio yangu ilikuwa hatia mimi kuja kukueleza. Ukaanza kusonya ukirusha mikono, sura umeikunja, kumbe ukufurahi mafanikio yangu ilikuwa hatia mimi kuja kukueleza. Mtu wa kwanza nilifikiria ni wewe, rafiki yangu. Oh, kuna watu na viatu duniani. Oh, kuna watu wasiopenda maendeleo. Oh, ukiwa nacho tawauma ndani kwa ndani. Achana nao, waepuke haraka sana. Oh, kuna watu na viatu duniani. Oh, kuna watu wasiopenda maendeleo. Oh, ukiwa nacho tawauma ndani kwa ndani. Achana nao, waepuke haraka sana. Oh, kuna watu na viatu duniani. Oh, kuna watu wasiopenda maendeleo. Oh, ukiwa nacho tauma ndani kwa ndani. Achana nao, waepuke haraka sana. Najivunia Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Najivunia Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Nchi tunayoipenda daima, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda daima. twajivunia Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda daima. Najivunia Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda daima. Kenya nchi tunayoipenda daima. Mr. Fidel on the keys. She
niliomba pale beleni kidogo nikasema, today is a bright day. It's a good day the president has come to join us on this very specific agenda on manufacturing, how we can take manufacturing to contributing over 20% of GDP by 2030. And ladies and gentlemen, the people here are the people who will assist Kenya achieve that vision. Na nikaomba, nikasema hata kama kuna kitu ambacho umetafuta nafasi ya kumwambia Mheshimiwa Rais na hujapata, kwa heshima niombe leo isiwe ndio hiyo siku umepata nafasi. We allow the function to be the function that it's meant to be. Na tumpe nafasi Mheshimiwa Rais kuchagua yale angependa kufanya yeye mwenyewe. So I'm requesting that whatever opportunity you get, kindly don't come and whisper to His Excellency, because that interrupts our program. It makes things not run the right way. And most humbly, because he is the President of the Republic of Kenya. Hapa peke yetu tuko watu kama 500, akisikiza kila mmoja wetu. Because hata mimi ningefurahi sana nikipata hiyo nafasi, najua naweza kumwambia Your Excellency, and my life might change. Lakini kwa sasa niombe kwa heshima sana, tumpatie hiyo nafasi. And our function will run very, very smoothly. Kenya, asante, banda.
Nimekuchagua wewe, nikupende mama, sitaki mwingine, aushi usiniache, usinitende mama, usipende mwingine. Moyo wangu ni mwepesi, umenikalia chapati, nafanya vituko kama chizi, ukupenda sitosizi. Moyo wangu ni mwepesi, umenikalia chapati, nafanya vituko kama chizi, kukupenda sitosizi. Na sura yako mzuri mama, na tabasamu lako mama, na sura yako mzuri mama. Nimekuchagua wewe, nikuoe mama, usikose lolote, pete nayo nikuvishe, nikuoe mama, usiende popote. Moyo wangu ushakubali, umenikalia chapati, nitakulinda kama polisi, itabidi nikumari. Moyo wangu ushakubali, umenikalia chapati, nitakulinda kama polisi, itabidi nikumari. Na sura yako mzuri mama, na tabasamu lako mama, na figo yako kama chupa, place I'd rather be. Oh na na na, oh na na na, no place I'd rather go. I wanna live and die in Africa. Live and die in Africa. Yeah, I wanna live and die in Africa. Live and die in Africa. Yeah. I wanna feel love. I wanna be remembered. I wanna have lots and lots of Monday. Sorrow about the clouds, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Nasitoke nyumbani, mwacha mila mtumwa. No place I'd rather be. Oh na na na, oh na na na, no place I'd rather go. I wanna live and die in Africa. Live and die in Africa. Yeah, live and die in Africa. I wanna live and die in Africa. Yeah. Nazungalunge, 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 I wanna live and die in Africa. I wanna live and die in Africa. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Kuna watu aina nyingi duniani, kuna watu fani fani. Kabla sijatamba kwenye fani, sikuishi na amani. Nilikesha na maombi, nikiomba Mungu anipe nafasi. Nikaanza kuimba, abinti wanisaka, uko na kule wanichangamkie. Ayo, eri ulie kwenye Range Rover, ama ucheke kwenye boda boda, ukose usingizi runda. Masaibu yanakufata. Do you love me baby? Do you love my money? Do you love me baby? Do you love my money? Unanipenda baby? Hey. Do you love my money? Napenzi mapenzi. Do you love my money? Do you believe in expensive cars? Do you wanna play with my heart? Do you believe in love? A money, not love. Ooh. Remember the promise at the altar that you're gonna love me for sure. Unconditional love, for rich or for poor. Heri ulie kwenye Range Rover, ama ucheke kwenye boda boda, ukose usingizi runda. Masaibu yanakufata. Do you love me baby? Do you love my money? Do you love me baby? Do you love my money? Unanipenda baby? Hey.
We settle down kindly. Those of us who are still studying, we settle down. Let's settle down faster, please. Endelea na mziki, endelea na mziki.
Zawadi nono kutoka mbinguni, nakuwaza mababy, nakuanza nikikuanza usiku silali, nikikuona na wengine shikwa na wivu, naomba unipe namba yako nikuvutie waya, nikupeleke Java tunywe kahawa tukizuba zuba 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 Muhari wajue shanya shanja kurula kunyasaye nakuyanza mabebe nikikuwaza usiku silali, nikikuona na wengine nashikwa na wivu, naomba unipe namba yako nikuvutie waya, nikupeleke Java tunywe kahawa tukizuba duba duba zunguzukande ikitafuta kama wewe, mina feel so nice, unanipa mi amani.
The ushers, kindly let us assist them to get seats. Kindly let us assist them to get seats and take their seats. Most kindly, thank you. Thank you.
Naomba unipe namba yako nikuvutie waya, nikupeleke Java tunywe kahawa tukizuba duba duba. Sarge on the guitar. tulipokuwa prime boy. Ulisema umeninoki, nikakuseti kwa udijo, tukaingia seko, adolezi kanipanda kwenye bus stop, yeah. Tukapatana kampo, ukasema unasoma, na bado nakuona daily, looking fly, and I could feel even more. I wonder what I'm gonna do if you ever walk out the door. Bado weni yule, bado na could feel baby vile vile. Bado weni yule, bado na could feel baby vile vile. Ukiwa mbali nakonda sana, nikikuona mina pagawa. Bado weni yule, bado na could feel baby vile vile. Strong thing, strong thing. Strong thing, strong thing, strong thing. Strong thing, strong thing, strong thing. My love is a strong thing, strong thing, strong thing. Tukapatana tao. Oh. Tukapatana tao. You were looking very pretty. Na bado nakuona daily, looking fly, and I could feel even more. I wonder what I'm gonna do if you ever walk out the door. Bado weni yule, bado na could feel baby vile vile. Bado weni yule, bado na could feel baby vile vile. Ukiwa mbali nakonda sana, nikikuona mina pagawa. Bado weni yule, bado na could feel baby vile vile. Love is a strong thing, strong thing, strong thing. Love is a strong thing, strong thing, strong thing. My love is a strong thing, strong thing, strong thing. Love is a strong thing, strong thing, strong thing. Susanna, I hope you're happy now. I see you flexing on the ground with your mom. Susanna, I hope you're happy now. I see you turning and your hair is longer now. Nakuona pale, hapa kando ya Champs-Elysees, ukitesa na kama ni none of my business. And I see you in London, Silicon. To hear this song, somebody loves you. Sanjay, hello, hello. Change your mind and come back home. Somebody loves you. Ona moketabia, shebu ni madaliwa, ila wengi walinyimwa tabia, shebu kabarikiwa. Wanaume hisia, pesa ni majaliwa, ila wengi walinyimwa hisia, pesa kabarikiwa. Na kuona pawe, hapo Rio de Janeiro, ukiongezwa nywele sebe. None of my business, and I see you in China, with the latest designer, make you want to get together. On your worst behavior, Susanna Bandet. If you get to hear this song, somebody loves you. Sanjay, hello, hello, hello. Change your mind and come back. nakosa usingizi sikukucha minajua Senje kilini moyoni bado wanidudua Senje coming home Senje tell me you know me take it mama kiremana Julia Senje nakosa usingizi sikukucha minajua Senje kilini moyoni bado wanidudua Senje when you come home tell me you know
Asante Band, and thank you for that muted music. Thank you for that muted music. We are able to still converse as we enjoy your music. Kama ulisahau kuweka simu yako silent, kindly, this is the opportunity to have your phone on silent mode. Kama ulisahau, including our service providers and the people from media, kindly, tuweke in silent mode if you forgot, kindly. And Band, thank you, Kenyan music. Thank you very much. Ya mwisho pengine, as His Excellency the President comes in.
Unapenda vitu vya maisha yako tezo we bwana we tumekuchoka unapenda vitu vya maisha yako tezo we bwana we yatakushinda kodi ya nyumba hulipi maji yameshakatwa operation hata umeme unakuja kodi ya nyumba hulipi maji yameshakatwa operation hata umeme unakuja we bwana we yatakushinda
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya. Na naomba sote tukiwa tumesimama, niombe Mheshimiwa Rais tusimame kwa wimbo wa taifa na wimbo wa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. Tuungane kwa pamoja. Mungu nguvu yetu And as we remain studying, Ruth Lemlem will lead us in a word of prayers. Ruth.
Father, Lord, in the mighty name of Jesus, we come before you this morning. We thank you for bringing us safely here. We pray for the nation and the people of Kenya. We pray for the president and the leadership of this country, that you may give them wisdom and the fortitude and the courage to lead this nation. We pray for the economy and the industry. We pray for the SMEs and the manufacturing sector in general. Lord, that you may bless them and give them the strength to lead this nation. Lord, we dedicate this function today before your able hands, that you may be with us. For in Jesus' name we do pray and believe.
Your Excellency, sir, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, Cabinet Secretaries and Cabinet Secretary nominees, the Governor and the leadership of Nairobi County, Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, the chairpersons, board and members of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and the Micro and Small Enterprise Authority, captains of industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. With the gracious permission of Your Excellency, I will invite the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Mr. Anthony Mwangi, to make some brief welcome remarks. Karibu Bwana Mwangi, briefly, kindly.
Your Excellency, the President, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, we are honored today to have you here with us to discuss about manufacturing agenda 20 by 30. We're grateful you've allocated time among all the things that you're supposed to do to serve the nation, and for that, we are thankful. Please clap for the President for being with us. Your President, as I mentioned to you earlier, this program is carefully put together. Initially, this program was supposed to be for SMEs. It was high-graded, and Honorable Moses Kuria has put us on our toes to make sure that it happens. We're grateful because through his direct leadership, the program will have 4 parts. 1, the big opportunity. The people who will be lined up will be giving big picture about specific value chains and the specific sectors. After that, we'll hear from the team that will talk about the enabling environment and what we need to do to achieve that dream. Some of the panelists, Linus has mentioned, that Your Excellency, you have done his job already because of the things that you've said before we came here. So he will not need to repeat in a lot of things that you've said. And then after that, we'll hear from the government team telling us what they will do, what they need to do to be able to take us to Vision 20 by 30. And for people who may not have heard that before, Vision 20 by 30 is manufacturing contributing 20% to the GDP by 2030. Finally, and most important, Your Excellency, will be to award 10 out of 236 SMEs who have performed exceptionally well through a program that we've done with GIZ, and I've seen the team from GIZ is here. They were taken through capacity building, coaching, farm-level interventions, access to finance, operational efficiency, and 10 of them became the best. Some of them are displaying their wares out there, and you must have liked some of them. So, Your Excellency, without taking much time, Kenya is not doing very well from the Competitive Industrial Index by UNIDO. We rank 115 out of 152. May I remind you, Your Excellency, that the same was happening in the ease of doing business until your direct intervention, and I know because I was in that team, I was working for IBM then, that your direct intervention brought down or improved the ease of doing business from 136 in 2014-2015 to position 56 in 2019. So the Competitive Industrial Index at 115, we just need to use the same template and the same blessing that you gave us to bring it forward to below 50, perhaps in 4 years. And as I've mentioned, we met with him, and as usual, and I think the conversation you don't want to have today, you don't want us to have today, of lamenting, we lamented a bit, both the private sector and the government. And we said, oh, we are buying from you from Brazil, we're buying aircraft, we also want to sell to you. But you could see he was visibly getting agitated as we were talking and lamenting. And when he stood, he gave us a small example. And he told us, how much does it take you to sell frozen chicken between Nairobi and Jeddah? And he said here the answer, he said 4 hours to fly from Nairobi to Jeddah. But also he told us, from Sao Paulo to Jeddah is 17 hours. But they were selling chicken products worth $2.5 billion. Today, and maybe it's for context, as I finish, Brazil exports chicken close to a market, Middle East and Africa, South Africa $100 million, DR Congo $50 million. It is equivalent to all the exports that we do in this country. including tea, coffee, just chicken alone. So that, I think, is one of the conversations that we could have. Without much ado, Your Excellency, may I now invite the chairman of KM Board, Mr. Rajan Shah.
Your Excellencies, sir, invited dignitaries, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, it is a great delight for you to join, to have you join here to celebrate the role of micro, small, and medium enterprises in manufacturing and recognize SMEs who have demonstrated sheer efforts towards growth, resilience, excellence, and innovation. As Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we are cognizant of the role that MSC plays in the growth of this economy. As a result, we continuously hold them up and nurture them to grow their businesses, to take full advantage of new and emerging markets, frontiers, both locally and globally, as you have noticed during our tour around just a while back. Your Excellency, you have time and again spoken about your passion to turn around our economy. At the heart of this is the employment creation to the millions of youth without jobs, food security, and eradication of poverty, amongst others. We would like to assure you our commitment to support your cause, vision, and the plan. The share of manufacturing sector as a percentage of the GDP over the last few years has declined from 9.3% in 2016 to 7.2%, which clearly shows that we are not growing at the same pace as other parts of the economy. And this is what, as a manufacturing fraternity, we wish to turn around and even go beyond what was in the Vision 2030 of achieving 15% of GDP to now achieving 20% by 2030, hence calling this Vision 20 by 30. Your Excellency, with the manufacturing sector, as we desire to grow to 20% by 2030, we shall achieve 1 million extra jobs in this sector. And empirical evidence has shown that for every one manufacturing job, it creates 3 other jobs in other ancillary sectors. We shall also increase our tax base, and we desire by 2030 that manufacturing is 5.2 trillion of the GDP. At the moment, manufacturing contributes nearly 30% towards the tax revenue. And by expanding this clearly shows the potential and opportunities we have towards higher tax revenue coming from this sector. Your Excellency, KEM has outlined 4 key strategic areas of focus towards achieving this Vision 20 by 30. Firstly, global competitiveness. When we speak of the country's competitiveness, we are looking at our ability to sustainably produce goods and services for which there is a market at a price and a quality that the market is willing to pay for. Importantly, we no longer talk about local competitiveness, but global competitiveness, because not only should we be able to sell our products in the domestic markets more competitively than imported products, but also at the same time be able to compete in the export markets globally. For manufacturers to operate effectively and efficiently, they require a business environment that enhances competitiveness. This is through the development of policies and frameworks, sustainable frameworks, to boost industry's production, create sustainable jobs, and increasing investments. Particularly, the sector needs a predictable and reliable regulatory and tax regime. Predictability allows investors to make projections on long-term investment decisions. On the other hand, reliability gives the investment community confidence in the stability of the economic policy regime. The second component is export-led growth. Your Excellency, we have already heard how passionate you are about growing exports of this country, and we are completely aligned with you as a manufacturing fraternity. Manufacturing sector growth will not be achieved by solely relying on domestic markets. This calls for Kenya to leverage on products where we have a comparative advantage to grow our exports. This will enable us to improve our balance of payments and foreign currency reserves and enhance trade with our other EAC partners and the larger continental free trade that we are now about to get into. Global supply chains during COVID have also been disrupted, including the current Ukraine crisis, which has demonstrated the need for our nation to reduce over-dependency on specific markets. Here lies the opportunity for Kenya, among other African countries, to benefit from reshoring and to fully take advantage of existing trade agreements, such as AGOA, EU EPA, amongst many others. Your Excellency, if we just take the opportunity under AGOA for the textile and apparel sector, we export 500 million shillings worth of value of goods to the US. However, the total opportunity is 500 billion. The leather sector equally has similar opportunities which can be captured. The third component, Your Excellency, is industrialized agriculture. What do we mean by industrializing agriculture? When starting with agriculture, we should have the end in mind, meaning what markets will we serve, at what cost, and at what quality. This is why the linkage between agriculture and industry is very crucial. We have taken a step further to find solutions that would enhance Kenya's food security through increased productivity, as well as adding higher value add for our exports. This increasing the productivity of crops that impact our food security will bring down the cost of our basic staples, like our unga, and subsequently lower the cost of living. On the other hand, identifying crops with potential for higher value addition and that have a huge export opportunities will accelerate growth and hedge us against adverse terms of trade shocks. For example, as we just saw, how avocado can be processed and be converted into avocado oil and other extracts, pyrethrum to make into ingredients for insecticides, and cotton to make into fabric. The final, and by far not the least, it's as important, is SME development. SMEs have continued to demonstrate their ingenuity and capacity to meet the country's needs over the years. However, taxation, lack of access to finance, and inadequate capacity building are some of the hindrances that the SME sector has been facing. And this is where, as Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we are very committed to hold hands with our SME sector and to carry them and to grow them into medium-sized and large organizations. Your Excellency, as outlined in your government's plan, out of the 19 million people under the Kenya workforce, only 3 million people are employed in the formal sector, whereas the other 16 million, which are outside the tax base, are primarily in the informal micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. We need to find this is a golden opportunity for the country to grow this sector and to take them to the next level. Your commitments towards growing this sector of the economy is indeed timely and promises to unlock the potential of small businesses to implement the short and medium term. We highly appreciate the Hustler Fund, the 50 billion Hustler Fund that you are going to be launching, and we fully support that, and we hope that that fund can be used to grow this particular SME and MSME sectors. KEM remains committed to supporting manufacturing SME and positioning the industry prominently in the global markets. We will continue to showcase this ingenuity and innovation through forums such as this and the upcoming Kenya Manufacturing Summit and Expo. Your Excellency, it is my humble request and honor to invite you to also come and grace the 5th edition of the KEM Manufacturing Summit and Expo, popularly known as Changamuka Festival, which is going to be hosted at the KICC between the 1st and the 5th of November, where we shall showcase all the products made by local manufacturers, including the SMEs. Finally, Your Excellency, you have challenged us to think differently, and we shall, as manufacturers, look at all the various opportunities which are available to us to grow this, to achieve our Vision 20 by 30. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, CEO. Your Excellency, sir, the next set of speakers will take us through the journey we will take towards achieving the GDP of 20%. And Your Excellency, the speakers will talk about the opportunities that are available and that will take us there. And with your permission, sir, I will take us now through the next set of speakers, starting with the first speaker. Sorry, Your Excellency, if you just allow me 1 second to... I will now invite the Managing Director of Unga Group, Mr. Choge, to take us through the opportunities available in that sector. And Your Excellency, we have agreed with the speakers. They will keep it brief and focused and detailed. Karibu Bwana Choge.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be here this morning to share some bits of opportunities around industrializing agriculture and also tackle the issue of food security for our country and focus around value addition for our products. So if you look at the screen in front of you, we see that the agricultural sector contributes 22.4% of our GDP and employing over 40% of the populace of Kenya. That's a huge industry and indeed what we call the backbone of the economy of Kenya. However, we still have to import about 17% of our food from abroad. For me, this bestows us with a great opportunity to be able to go out there and close that gap as an industry. And, you know, as manufacturers in the agri sector, fully committed to ensure that we work with the government to ensure this is done. Now, out of the agri-based industry, the manufacturing sector, about half of it is actually agri-based. Goes to speak to what Your Excellency have been talking about, changing the course of agriculture in this country to be able to, you know, propel the economy to the next level. I show you an example. You know, in Kenya, when there is no ugali, there is no food. And maize, I'll show you per capita consumption of maize is about 70 kg per person per annum, which is about 3/4 of a bag. So it's our job to ensure that kila mtu wako na gunia yake, tumetengenezea mtu gunia yake as a country. Yeah? And of course, wheat flour there, you can see about 41 kgs per person. So what do we need to do as a sector, as an industry? If you look at maize growing, and I'm actually from the Rift myself, and it's a bit sad to see that the land is being fragmented day by day, and we need to figure out how we hold on to the large tracts so that we can be able to be more efficient in production. Currently, we produce about 8 bags per acre, but the industry best practice is about 15 bags. So it's us as an industry to partner with the farmers, offer extension services to be able to see that we actually bridge that gap. Talk about rice, 15 bags an acre, when best practice is at 35 bags per acre. And I'd like to thank you, Your Excellency. I saw what you did the other day in Kirinyaga, opening the dam. Those are the kind of initiatives that we'll partner together with the private sector to ensure that we actually bridge the gap. Once productivity is improved, then we're able to feed our own populace. So if you look, one of the key initiatives, for example, the subsidy on fertilizer, and it's a very welcome initiative, given that where we need to tackle all this is on input, one by one. So we'd like to thank you for that initiative. And, like in the West, say in the US, where they've managed to lock that kind of subsidy over almost in perpetuity, I'd like to request, Mr. President, that this is kept on lock and key, and probably the key thrown away somewhere in oblivion. But if you look, Your Excellency, at the graph on the far side, maize, we still have a gap of about 10% that we still get from our neighboring countries, the Ugandas, the Tanzanias. That can actually be easily covered by us continue partnering with the farmers across the country to be able to improve this productivity. However, the threat still remains the continued fragmentation of the parcels of land, which then kills the productivity and efficiency that we want to achieve. Wheat, on the other hand, is still a big gap. We almost import almost 85, 90%. And we saw what the impact was when Ukraine was invaded. That I've seen the other day, you visiting Ethiopia, and the guys in Ethiopia have done a good job to be able to almost take care of 70% of their wheat usage. So it's up to us to go out there, learn the best practice to be able to cover this gap and to be able to feed our nation. Rice I've spoken to. So these are the key commodities when, lack of which tends to make us, go up in arms, say there's no food in Kenya. So that, as an entity, we work together with the government to ensure we cover it fully. I'll move quickly because of time. I talk about value addition, and if you can flip to the next chart, I will probably just take one sector, which is actually a key sector for our economy. I look at tea as a value-added cash crop. This cash crop gives us an exchange earning of about 23% of what we get as a nation. A production of 540,000 tons, 130 billion shillings in terms of revenue. But of this, only 5% is value added. Now, that's a pain. How do we move from a 5% to a 50% as a nation? That's where we get the dollar down to our farmers, okay? And it's up to us as an industry, as manufacturers, to be able to see that instead of exporting the raw material out there, we actually value add and be able to take it to the market. That in itself just loads $12 extra per kg to the consumer. Thinking about my mother, man, an extra 1,200 bob per kg, it's an extra kid in school and things like that. So that's our determination as an industry to be able to do this. It employs more than 600,000 farmers today. So what do we need to do as a sector to be able to increase this from that paltry 5% to a 50% is a brainstorm that we need to have as an agribusiness sector to be able to close this gap. And we definitely promise to be part of the food security. Now, as I conclude, if you look at the graph on the far side, the production in terms of volume has always been almost consistent. But the key thing here now is, I was discussing some things with some people from Rwanda, and where they beat us, they don't have the volume, but they have the quality, which tends to fetch a higher dollar. So the question now, we shift now from volume, we've got the volume. How do we now fetch even higher dollar through increase in the quality of the tea? So those are the discussions that we'll have as an entity, as the sector, to be able to see that we improve and add to the GDP of this country. So, Your Excellency, we as a sector, especially in the agri and industrializing the agri sector, are really committed to ensure that we actually achieve the goal of food security as a country and as a people. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Choge. Your Excellency, the next speaker will speak on leather and footwear and the opportunities available in that area. The Managing Director, Bata Company Limited, Madam Jedida Thotho. Karibu, Madam.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency the President, captains of industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to talk to you about the big pie, the big opportunity in leather. This is around a vision of having the leather manufacturing sector be a hub for manufacturing excellence by 2030. So let's start with the big picture, right? Because it starts with what is a basic raw material in the construction of a leather shoe. It's really about leather. And leather comes from hide. So on the left chart there, we have some statistics from the Ministry of Livestock around how many cows do we have, how many goats do we have, how many sheep and cattle do we have. So in the leather industry, in terms of footwear, 90% of what we consume is really from cows. So you will notice that this is from 2015, and those numbers obviously have changed, but we had a herd of 17.5 million cows in the country. So let me stop there for a second. How many of you own a cow? Raise your hands. You do, right? So we had 17.5 million cows, but out of that, only 2.6 million hides were produced. Only 2.6 million. That's a 10% conversion. So what happened to the 90%? I understand from the Ministry of Livestock that that number has kind of improved, but 75% of our hide is going to waste. So we stop there for a second. Let's talk about the global market. The leather industry is $100 billion globally. 50% of that is footwear. So let's come closer home to Africa. From an Africa perspective, believe it or not, Africa holds 20% of the entire livestock globally. 20% of livestock in the world is in Africa. That's 1 out of 5. Closer home, you'll not believe this, but Kenya is top 3 in Africa in terms of holding of livestock. This is after Botswana and Ethiopia. Guys, we are number 3 in Africa in terms of livestock production. And when we think about all of us in terms of our intent with the cows that we have at home, it's either for milk or for meat. Nobody thinks about the hide. We do everything that it takes to ensure they have all the nutrients, the salt, the protein, to produce sufficient yield in milk and to produce the best quality meat. But hide is an afterthought. Therein lies the opportunity. Now, let's talk about what's the current state in terms of value addition proposition. So currently, as we speak, in terms of finished goods, as an industry, we only produce 4 million pairs of shoes. Only 4 million pairs of leather shoes. Let's look around the room. 95 of all the men in this room are wearing leather shoes. We have a population of 55 million people. You can do the math about what the proportion of men and women will be, because primarily most of the leather is produced for a couple of different categories. One is for men's dress shoes, men's casual shoes. You have school shoes. We have a population of 16 million school-going kids. And their sizes change every 6 months or every year, depending on how big they are, pre-prep, primary, or secondary. So we have 16 million school-going kids who are only consuming a fraction of the 4 million pairs of shoes that I talked about. From an export perspective, there is zero value addition. If you look at the chart there, in terms of what we export, our revenues are at 15 billion shillings only. And out of that 15 billion, 89% of that is in the form of what we call wet blue. Wet blue is a processed form of raw hide that allows for preservation. So it ensures all the organic matters are removed in order so that it doesn't rot. So when you slaughter a cow, if you leave the hide there, it will rot. So it is processed in a tannery that ensures that it gets to a level of wet blue. So 89% of our exports is in wet blue. From a farmer's perception, a hide is worth 1/8 of the value of the cow. And that's the exports that we are exporting. So when you look at the current value addition proposition, we start with abattoirs and traders. These are the slaughterhouses on all the different places that collect the cows and skin them to collect the hide. This is very labor intensive. The capital intensity comes in tanning. We currently have about 5 major tanners in the country. Only 5 who are able to process the wet blue into finished leather. After that, we have the manufacturing. This is labor intensive. Yeah? The manufacturing of leather has never changed over the many years. It's still very labor intensive, and that's why it's the most durable and the one with the best value proposition. It really involves cutting of the leather, stitching, and then depending on the construction, it will be either DVP technology, DIP technology, or cementing. So, right now, the opportunity that we have sitting with us, besides mopping up all the cows that we have, is to fulfill the local market needs as I've established. But in addition to that, from an export perspective, we have an opportunity to move from the current roes and hides, which is 5% being exported, the wet blue, which is currently at 89%, to increase that value proposition. So majority of what we're exporting is finished leather or finished leather goods. And finished leather goods go beyond footwear. We have belts, we have handbags, we have briefcases, the automotive industry with all the seating, the upholstery industry with all the seating. And we're in a really good proposition because from a competitive perspective, we have the supply. From a global perspective, the current trends are such that when you go to China, North America, South America, the trends are, in terms of the tanneries, they're becoming very stringent in terms of sustainability and the capital investment required to operate a tannery. So they are looking for places like ourselves to come and invest. Right? Because we have big pieces of land, the investment is relatively low, we have relatively cheap labor force, so there will be opportunities for investment here to come and set up their tanneries for investment in product that can be sold across the global market, right? So those are serious opportunities. So now just to highlight the opportunities, it's around the animal husbandry. Changing all of our practices so that we are sensitized at a grassroots level that hide is valuable besides the meat and the milk. It will reduce the production cost and wastage, and then improve production processes, machinery, technology, and thereby quality because we'll have investment in the latest technology when it comes to the tanning. Market accessibility. The demand right now, I can tell you as we speak, we do not have capacities in our factories. The supply is an issue. When we go through the drought season, the wet blue, you're living hand to mouth. And then now what has happened? Wet blue has become a hot commodity. Right now, the import duty rate is about 80%. Smuggling is the next best thing. People are smuggling in like you'll never imagine. Catch me if you will, because the demand is there. So, we have various trading areas, COMESA, AGOA, AFTA, that we can trade with. The exports will move from 15 billion to about 75 billion. More importantly, from a people perspective, we currently have only 17,000 people in our industry. Based on these simulations, we anticipate, based on that labor intensivity in the additional value addition, we can move to 100,000 people who are employed. And 100,000 people, 70% of these are in the informal sector, not the formal sector, Karioko, Kamukunji, all of these hubs where we have very segmented or fragmented industries. And in addition to that, we'll be able to strengthen the skills because these are skills that require some form of competency in terms of product design, chemical engineering, tannery, leather technology, if you will. So it has a really good value proposition in terms of our young people having employment in an industry that has opportunities. So ladies, and thank you very much. And we hope that you see the opportunity in the leather industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Your Excellency, the next speakers will speak on the opportunities around the pharmaceuticals industry. And allow me, sir, to invite the Managing Director of Cosmos, Mr. Vimal Patel, and Mr. Palum Danani, who is the MD, Universal Farm. Karibuni.
Good morning, Your Excellency, the President, champions of industries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm going to talk about the opportunities in the pharmaceutical industry. COVID taught us a lesson in terms of security. We want to bring the cost of healthcare down so that maximum population of our country can get the right medicine of the right quality and affordable. Together with that, we see an opportunity in Kenya, and we see an opportunity in Africa. We talk about India, we talk about Bangladesh. We want to talk about Kenya in Africa, and we have a wonderful opportunity. I'm going to take you to certain statistics here, and then I will broaden my outlook on the opportunities. So first and foremost, we have a pharma industry of 1.2 billion US dollars. What I'm going to be talking here is in US dollars, not Kenya shillings. The exports right now is 100 million. Most of it goes to East Africa. And there's a huge Africa down there, sub-Saharan Africa. 70% in quantity is imported from India, China. 60% of this is generic drugs. We have 37 plus manufacturers in Kenya, which makes us one of the biggest manufacturing hubs in the sub-Saharan Africa, which tells us that we are on the trajectory and we need to make the most of it. We are presently using 50 to 60% of our capacity, which again means that we have the capacities, and the more you produce, the cost of production comes down. And then we can go into vertical integration into raw materials. For every $1 that we invest, we can get back $1.5. There is a 7% growth rate, and to my opinion, that can be even more. What are the key drivers? We need to spend a bit more on the healthcare. I think Kenya's percentage spending in healthcare is pretty low against the target we had set. The life expectancy is increasing. We talk about NCD, which is hypertension, diabetes, all these are increasing. There's increased government support through health pillars. So these are going to drive it. Right now, a lot of public and private institutions are importing drugs. Now, when I talk about importing drugs, there is a patented and there's the generic arm. We're talking about the generic arm. We have a potential to increase this to 240 to 350 million dollars worth of business here, which means that when we see a protection, there are other players who are going to come into this market, which means that we have 3 to 6 factories, number of direct jobs going from 900 to between 900 and 1,800, and then indirect jobs. Finished products cost more than manufacturing, so your outflow of US dollars goes less. The other cost that we don't realize is the substandard and falsified medicines. If this is not controlled, our healthcare costs will go up because of hospitalization. The other thing that was shown by some studies that locally made medicines was readily available in a short time. When we have pandemics, when we have epidemics, we need medicines very quickly. And during the COVID time, we supplied medicines very, very quickly, and we should be proud of the pharma industry there. I've talked about increasing export. There's a huge market there, and I do believe we can be an India of Africa. Why do we talk about India? Why do we talk about Pakistan? Why do we talk about China? Why don't we talk about Kenya, Kenyan jobs? That's what we are here for. The AUC Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan of Africa said that between 30% that is locally made and 70% which is imported, we wanted to change it around. Yeah? The same for the East African Community Manufacturing Plan. We want to change it around. And that's why we're here. What will this mean? Once we get an income, we get more factories, the costs become less because there's competition, there's innovation. This is what we need. The kind of medicines Africa needs is not the type of medicines that Western require. We have our own diseases, we have our own needs, and we need to innovate there. And that will only come through this growth, like India has shown. Thank you very much. I was given 3 minutes, I finished it. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Dr. Ruto, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, captains of industry. Since I've only got 3 minutes, I can talk for days on this topic, but I will use my 3 minutes, hopefully. So I think as my predecessor, or chair of the association, has already mentioned, so I will go to a precise one-item example. As a company, we are based in Kenya. We are the only WHO pre-qualified plant in Kenya. In sub-Saharan Africa, there are 2, out of which 1 is in your backyard, sir. That gives us an opportunity to manufacture ARVs, malaria, TB, reproductive health, and the others. But we only manufacture ARVs and TB. Fortunately or unfortunately, this majority of this funding is from donor-funded programs. One item alone, which is an HIV product, which we already have the pre-qualification, the demand for Kenya is million tablets a day, which is about 365 million tablets a year. We have more than enough capacity to supply the Kenyan market. What our request, and this is one product only I'm talking about, it is approximately worth $60 million in terms of value. It can give you a tax of $3 million a year and a forex retention of not less than $12, $13 million a year. I'm just talking of a 20% margin. Now, over and above job creation, my life is busy, but we have not considered any other product. So there is malaria, TB, HIV, reproductive health, and let's not forget the bigger animal which is now coming about is the non-communicable diseases, which is the lifestyle. So opportunities, as my predecessor says, I do not want to go into, but a few of the positives, what the government has done is the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya policy, encouraging local manufacturing, demonstrating to buy from local manufacturers certain products, but not the HIV product, because that comes mainly from the donor-funded programs. And the donors, for example, we lost a tender worth about $40 million for a meager 5% difference. And the whole thing came from India. So you can imagine how many people lost jobs, the revenue the government has lost, including the forex retention. So engagement with donors, Your Excellency, is very, very necessary, because one side they are saying that they want to reduce funding towards more self-sustainability for countries, but capacity is not built. An example again is a good malaria product that today there is no manufacturer on the continent who has built capacity to manufacture a good malaria product acceptable to international standards. We just got our pre-qualification a few months ago, so we are amongst those, but it did not build capacity because everything was imported up to day before yesterday. And now there is no subsidy in that product. So sustainability, Your Excellency, is very necessary through donor engagement. One thing I would say, we have supplied in a record time an ARV product to KEMSA as a local manufacturer. As I said, thanks to the government to support local industry. Not being paid is a different story, which we don't engage on today. But clearly, I think we have a lot to do. And numbers have shown this is, I think, $1.2 billion market is actually there. And just one item can change. And it's a huge opportunity. Thank you. I don't want to dwell too much on it, sir. Thank you.
Your Excellency, to discuss the opportunities around the textile and apparel, I will invite the Managing Director, Bedi Investment, Mr. Jazz Bedi. Bona Bedi, kindly. As we agreed a few minutes. Yeah, kindly.
Thank you. Good morning. And Your Excellency, I've been told my time is limited, so I will go direct to the point. But before I start, I just want to share a very small story. A very small story of a small country called Bangladesh. In 2015, Bangladesh was exporting $25 billion of garments and apparel to the world, and they had a plan that by 2025, they want to grow their exports, double it to $50 billion. We're in 2022 today, sir. Last year in 2021, they actually hit their plan of $50 billion 4 years in advance. They have more than 4.2 million jobs today, and their manufacturing contribution in 2015 was 16% of their GDP. Today it is 22% of their GDP, and I'm so happy that KAM is now thinking that they want to go back to their glory of 20% manufacturing contribution by 2030. So it is possible. Bangladesh has done it, Kenya can do it. And to give you a little bit of perspective, of manufacturing contribution by other countries. China, 28% of their manufacturing contribution to their GDP. Egypt, in our backyard, 30% of their manufacturing contribution to their GDP. India, 16%, South Africa, 14%, and if Kenya is at 7.2%, over the years it's come down from 20. It's a shame, but it's better to be honorable and accept there is a problem, and let's move on, and let's deliver that plan. So, Your Excellency, going back to the textile apparel sector, it's probably one of the biggest supply chains in the world, huge market opportunity. Kenya today is the largest exporter under AGOA to the US. That is our number 3 export. It has overtaken coffee, which is now number 4. It was $500 million, like the chairman said, and it's got 52,000 jobs. But this opportunity ahead of us, just one market, the United States, is $100 billion. If we start looking at European Union, 27 countries, another $150 billion. The total pie is $800 billion. And to me, the only lesson I know from business school is size of the pie, slice of the pie. So if the size of the pie in the US under AGOA is $100 billion, and our contribution of export contribution to that pie is $500 million, there's no need to chest thump and say, oh, we're the biggest, we're the best in Africa. Yes, you are. But globally, what have you done? You're 0.5% of US imports. It's a shame. We are duty-free. Bangladesh is doing much more than they're dutiable. So it's a big shame for us, and there's a serious opportunity for us in one sector. And in that one sector, we have no factories left in our Hathi River EPZ full. I know this morning, Your Excellency, you talked about Naivasha. It can be a reality. It can deliver 100,000 jobs, just one park. And we really don't have an option. We need to create jobs. And Your Excellency, I'm fortunate enough that I've had this conversation with you. But yes, your agenda is spot on. You told me you have 3 agendas. Agenda number 1, jobs. Agenda number 2, jobs. Agenda number 3, jobs. I think that, Your Excellency, this sector will deliver that opportunity. And it's a huge opportunity as we connect the pipeline back into the farm gates, the farmers, the field to fashion story that the chairman talked about. It's possible, and it can happen. And this is the serious opportunity ahead of us that we should not lose. I know Jadida talked about the leather sector, but one thing she didn't talk about, the leather business in the US is $27 billion. Kenya has got 0% of that business. The leather shoe import duty into the United States is 60%. Under AGOA is 0. It's an opportunity they've not even touched. So these 2 sectors, which are part of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto, will deliver the jobs you want, and I'm so happy you put them on your agenda. Asanteni sana. God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. And Your Excellency, on the opportunities around the automotive industry, I will now invite Dr. Isaac Karua, the Managing Director, Honda Motorcycle Kenya. Dr. Karua, a few minutes kindly.
Your Excellency, sir, your government team leaders, the captains of the industry, we congratulate you, Your Excellency, for the good work that you're doing, and we immerse ourselves in the plan that you have for this country. I'm going to bring out 3 items. One is job creation, and this I'm doing on behalf of the sector, the automotive sector entirely. The second is to strengthen the value of Kenya shillings through the increased exports and reduction of inputs. And number 3, diversification of Kenyan exports by expanding the automotive export basket. Your Excellency, if you look at the presentation here, currently we have about 4.8 million number of registered motor vehicles in this country. Out of this, we have about 2.7 million that are only motorcycles. Out of the 2.7 million that have been registered, about 600,000 are already out of the road, according to Motorcycle Assemblers Association. And out of this, we have about 1.9 million motorcycles that are in the border sector. It would be very interesting for you to know that this market continues to increase by 20% annually, and therefore we expect extreme growth in this sector. When we talk about 1.9 million riders, Your Excellency, currently each border person supports about 6 people in a family, and therefore we are talking of about 11.4 million livelihoods supported out of this sector. We have about 24 rides that are made. Each motorcycle rider makes about 3 hours, 3 rides in an hour. And therefore, it's very interesting to know we have just given it 8 hours, and therefore we have 24 riders. And therefore, you can imagine 24 rides out of each bike. And if you give each ride just 50 shillings, Your Excellency, that is 2.2 billion Kenya shillings per day, and we are talking of about 660 million Kenya shillings in a year. I will take us through the lower part of the presentation, Your Excellency. A motorcycle has about 290 different parts. Out of the 299 or thereabout parts, Kenya has already made advancement in making some of the parts locally, Your Excellency. We have already started making 7 parts, which were in the first phase. The second bit, and I will show you, Your Excellency, an example that can lift and take the sector and the training institutes that you are so passionate about. This is something that can take the training institutions to the next level because this is being made locally. When we started the first 7 parts, Your Excellency, within 3 months, we had employed in the sector 2,600 people within 3 months. Of course, Your Excellency, there are other parts that are also being made. Some of them is the wire harness. A wire harness, the company that is already doing this has been upgraded to great levels. The wire harness companies that have been upgraded, 2 of them are now employing 200 people. The kind of wire harness that we are producing, which is a very great advancement in this, is able, the number of wire harnesses we are producing, 20,000 a month, creating 200 jobs, is the equivalent of going the meters from Nairobi to Frankfurt and back every moment and every month. And if this is taken up and the procedure of the the regulations is in place, then we are talking of employing much, much more people. And that is why we have indicated the number of about 250,000 people getting a job in this specific area and being a hub in Africa for the entire production of these parts. Your Excellency, that is just about the parts in the motorcycle sector. You can imagine now Kenya is a net exporter of batteries. We never used to make batteries for motorcycle in the country. Today, we are exporting batteries to Egypt. We are exporting to other countries in the region, including the EAC region, and it's very successful, while at the same time importing about 40,000 different parts of the same. The list is continuous and very big, and I will explain in a short while. I'll take you to the motorcycle sector, the automobile sector. Your Excellency, we have only picked very small opportunity just in the capacity of our commercial vehicles. Our current production of motor vehicles is about 12,000 units per year. Our demand is about 36,000, going to about 40,000 currently. Our installed capacity, you'll be happy to know this, Your Excellency, we are currently at about 96,000 installed capacity. If this was made to happen, then we are talking of about 300,000 potential new jobs. These are jobs that are paying taxes and not just the casual jobs that we may have. And it's a tremendous opportunity, and the industry is so united to make sure this can happen. We have many other opportunities, and these jobs includes also the parts making, which is a very big field. Your Excellency, the field, and particularly the fact that we are hosting the United Nations here, gives us an opportunity to start thinking like the world is thinking. Globally, 60% of cars will be electric by 2030. We have started thinking about this sector in a very big way, Your Excellency. And I want to congratulate a team that is already here doing a very good job. You can imagine with our national grid, which is already green, and you can imagine if we gave some taxes in this space, how much more we would really be able to increase these levels. Autoparks is a company that is here working on electric vehicles, thanking the minister for the good job that she has been doing, and together with the expert that has now come in, a person that we really appreciate in this field. And the person who has been doing that is a 23-year-old who is in the room now, together with engineer Makateto. Ukimgotea baadaye, it will be a very great thing. It's a person who is doing a good job in this. But eternally, and with the finality, before I bring out the space, the request that we want to make to you, we are looking at 550,000 new jobs. At the end of it, we are looking at another 1.4 million new jobs in the motorcycle sector. As I finish, what is going to unlock this space? Number one, we are going to look at you kindly forming a national automotive council. This is going to promote and develop the automotive industry in Kenya in great levels. We have very experienced people. The entire sector is so united, Your Excellency, under Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And we have leaders in the name of Ashit, who is here and doing a good job in that field. And you can get space to discuss that. The second thing, implementation of the national automotive policy. This is nowhere else in the world. We have done very well. South Africa is following in the same. We can be able to deal with that. Thirdly, firm support of the implementation of motorcycle assembly regulations. Your Excellency, it is painful that even as we do these parts, there are people in court today slowing this process where a motorcycle can be made locally where we have only identified 14 parts, but there are countries and parts of the world that are not interested in doing these things locally because they are losing jobs internationally. Next is the implementation of KS 1515. We also have, thank you, Excellency. We also have the renewal of implementation of vehicle regulations, LN 84. This is something that needs to be done. Implementation of local procurement policy so that we can use locally made vehicles. And then, of course, Your Excellency, implementation of EV regulations as we move forward, and also the export-driven incentives for assemblers and parts. This is something that we believe is an opportunity as I finish, so that we can also work towards development of financing of a bank that is going to give loans to producers of this. Your Excellency, is going to be good for the country if you can also, and this is a request, passionate request by the automotive sector, whenever you get an opportunity, just pass by one of the makers of different parts. We have helmets that are being made locally. We have vehicles that are being made locally. Just pay a visit, and we'll be able to enjoy this in the best way possible. If these things are done, Your Excellency, and with the support of the CS that you have put in place, who is an expert in this field, wale wa jamaa wakae kando, waone sinema kazi ikifanyika, Your Excellency. Tutafanya kazi. Thank you, and may God bless you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalua. Your Excellency, to conclude on this session on opportunities, I will invite Madam Winnie Gumi, who is the Sector Chair, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, to talk on the opportunities around building, mining, and construction. Winnie, karibu sana.
Your Excellency, Captains of Industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, mine is to paint a picture on how the construction industry will deliver 500 incremental jobs by implementation of the affordable housing pillar. Your Excellency, today our construction industry consumes about 200,000 jobs, but just with the implementation of the affordable housing pillar, we have the potential to create an additional 500,000 jobs just from this one pillar. And this is not just, going to affect the building and construction sector, but Your Excellency, we will be creating a new population that has disposable income, that will pay taxes, that will eat the food from the agricultural farms, that will use the border-borders, and singularly, this is the one sector that can unlock the opportunities in the economy. And I'll just want to paint a picture using the worst-case scenario, only using building cost. At an average of 60 square meter per unit of affordable housing, using only a construction cost of 40,000 Kenya shillings, knowing that today the construction cost is anywhere at around 60,000 shillings per square meter, Your Excellency, we have an opportunity to generate 600 billion shillings to the economy with this one project. And this is excluding the income and revenue that will be generated by the manufacturers as their capacity utilization increases, and that they're able to now go into the export market. This is just incremental as a result of the affordable housing pillar. Out of this, 180 billion shillings is likely to go to the fundis, the contractors that are local players in our industry. And if we look at the building materials complement, this is about 420 billion shillings. Out of this, if you assume 70% goes into local manufacturing, 250 billion shillings will go into local manufacturing of building products. Another 170 billion shillings will go into imported products, which are businesses that are run by SMEs and MSMEs. And I am saying this as one who has actually gone through this journey. And ultimately, we'll find that at an average, 500,000 jobs will be created. Using all the linkages that you can see there, we'll be able to impact on the fundis, we'll be able to impact on the value chains of business, our retailers. These are our hardware stores. These are all the retailers and distributors. We'll be able to create direct jobs within the manufacturing members of the institution of Kenya Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And ultimately, Your Excellency, I believe that just unlocking this one initiative is going to impact on all the pillars of the Kenya Kwanza initiative, because we will cascade jobs, we will cascade economies, we'll open up the pockets for our Kenyans, and we will impact 7.5 million Kenyans directly. So thank you very much. Mine was simply just to demonstrate why there has to be serious focus on implementing the building and construction, opening up building and construction sector through this one incremental opportunity of affordable housing. Thank you very much for your attention. I've done.
Thank you very much, Madam. Your Excellency, that set of speakers have given us the opportunities that are available for us. And with your permission, Your Excellency, the next set of speakers will take us through the journey that we need to walk towards achieving the dream that we have of 20% for 20. Your Excellency, I will request the speakers to be brief, most kindly. I will request the speakers that I invite to be brief so that we are able to move the program. The first one is Mr. Linus Getahi, KAM board member, who will speak on the enabling environment. Bwana Getahi, most kindly, as we have agreed. Kindly, sir.
Time. Yes. Your Excellency, Madam Betty is telling me 2 minutes, although I've been given 3 minutes. I think I only take a very, very short time, Your Excellency, because when we met a little earlier, you actually summarized this. And I'm really excited because we have a government that is already running ahead of the private sector. We actually used to a situation where we are knocking doors and trying to say, please. And now in terms of summary, when we went there, it is like, yeah, I know this, I know this. Linus, when you go there, don't moan. I promise you, Excellency, I'm not going to moan. Maybe this slide is saying, why is it important that we focus on manufacturing? Why is it important that the agenda for jobs, jobs, jobs actually comes from here? Because manufacturers actually create all these linkages, right, from the farmers, the suppliers, and by the way, many of those people around the manufacturing circle are what we call hustlers. These are the hustlers. And actually, when we look at manufacturing oftentimes, and when you're asking for this or that, we look like it is just Betty who wants to make a little more money. No. Actually, it is the more just Betty does good work, look at the number of people who benefit. If you look, just allow me to use you as an example. If you look at just Betty's P&L, probably what he ends up taking home, or his organization, is 8%. The gap between the sales and the 8% is Bwana Boro there. Actually, Boro, you are the biggest shareholder in my business. In fact, I'm thinking of bringing you in the board because actually he makes more money than I do. But I think the point is we need to, when we support manufacturing, we actually drive the Kenyan agenda. We actually drive the hustlers agenda. If you can get the next slide, please. So, when I was asked to present this, I was actually going, my title of the presentation, because people have talked very nice things about the opportunities, the title of my presentation was going to be, however. But because you said we don't mourn, I shall not mourn. What I shall say is that when we talk about global competitiveness, we are stopping to talk about the guy next door. In fact, we have these squirrels. Maybe Bwana Sakaja is quarreling with Amatiga in Kiabu, which is because we are neighbors. The reality is that now we are talking AFCTA. The reality is that you're talking about how do we go to DRC and how do we dominate DRC? How do we go to Ethiopia? And as they open up, because the political class is actually ahead of us. They are already in Ethiopia talking about opening up. How do we ensure that when you open up, we actually have goods and services that are competitive, that we can actually take a share of the market? That is why we are saying, let us work together. And I'm glad that our CS nominee for finance, for treasury is here. Because if you look at what I said about the sales revenue and the 8% that the manufacturer carries home, there is a whole lot there in the middle that we can create efficiency about, not so that government may get less revenue, but so that what you talked about a little earlier, it's about volume. There is no way we are going to do very well in DRC and all these other places if we don't do volume. It is less margin, bigger volume, but we need to remove some of those costs. Actually, the theme is let's get unnecessary costs out of the business. We talk, for instance, about power, and I don't want to moan. But even if I don't want to moan, Your Excellency, even if I don't want to moan, when our CEO was talking, you saw what happened. He had now to raise his voice because Kenya Power went on leave for a short time. And the reality is the government has done a lot of work. Kenya Power has done a lot of work. We have what, 5,000 megawatts? It's a question of managing it. It's a question of ensuring efficient distribution. It's a question of ensuring it's there all the time because the back office work has been done. So that is, and we need to focus on export orientation because, and I think Bharat talked about it. He was talking about 70%. Maybe that is coming down because of some of those small problems that you're talking about. But I want to tell you, Your Excellency, we are not even asking you to do anything. You've given us CS. There is a CS here who is even working at night. So give us a chance. Let us work with a man who is also waking you up so that he stops waking you up and works with us and really help to drive this agenda. And let us really set ourselves a target that we are going to be an export-oriented economy. We, rather than saying there's a quarrel with Uganda on eggs and milk and all that, let us upgrade our facilities. Let us move from also not just talking about milk, but talking about how we are converting that milk, how we are converting the other things, so that we are actually setting them back, things that they're probably not able to do, and we shall coexist together. We talked about the regulatory burden. This is a quick win. If we look at many of those things, whether it is, we talked about KEFIS, whether it is NEMA, if we look at some of those costs and actually remove them from the business, you know what we do? We just create efficiency. We create competitiveness. When we create competitiveness, we drive volumes. When we drive volumes, we employ people. I think it's a simple equation. So if we just focus on removing unnecessary costs out of the business, then we're actually achieving the objective. And by that, it's not your objective. It is my objective as well, because I've got brothers and sisters who are at home. So it's not Dr. Ruto's objective. It is for all of us to get those folks having meaningful, sustainable jobs that give dignity to our people. And I'm told that nimemaliza yangu sasa ni kushukuru huyu jamaa because of harassing me to stop. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Linus. Thank you very much. Linus, Your Excellency, allow me to give 3 minutes to Mr. Nikhil Hira, who will talk on general taxation regime. Mr. Nikhil, kindly. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the President, distinguished guests, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Linus, for taking it off there. I was wondering whether I could do that because this thing is too high for me. Sir, in August this year, found that I had spent 40 years in the accounting profession, of which 35 was in taxation, albeit, as Mr. Mburu well knows, I'm a poacher, not a gamekeeper. However, a good tax system is one that has to have equality, certainty, convenience, and be economic. This is not me saying this. This is Adam Smith going back to 1776. And it still follows in some way or the other, maybe changed a little bit. We do have equality in a way. We have a progressive tax system that is working. We do have convenience. iTax has certainly made my life much easier, and that of my clients much easier as well. The economic part of it, we're not paying Mr. Mburu more than we're collecting, so we're okay there. Our problem is in the certainty, sir. We need to have certainty if we're going to get investors to come in. And in my 35 years in the tax field, I can say with hand on heart that investors, people in this room, manufacturers are willing to pay tax, but not a penny more, not a penny less. And that's why they invite me to help them do that. Our policies have to be long-term. These manufacturing concerns that we have are long-term investments. The power generations, long-term investments. If we are doing policies which we put in something in a finance act today and a year later we said, sorry, this didn't work, let's change it. That is the wrong way to do it. We need to think 2030 and our policies need to be 2030. If we are going to boost manufacturers, and we're here talking about the manufacturing industry, I do think we need to remove the 16% on plant and equipment, either zero-rated or exempt. It was exempt before, it's become taxable now, and that is a problem. The need for a new income tax act. It is imperative. Our income tax act goes back to 1973. Mr. President, it has more patches in it than Microsoft Office does. So we need to just get it right and get it cleared and pass it through as quickly as possible. And we need a robust tax policy for 2030, which takes us forward. And finally, sir, just with a few specific proposals that perhaps can be thought about, VAT refunds, which I must say have improved. And I will say, Mr. President, that in 1998, with the then Commissioner of VAT, Edward Odundo, I was the one who set up the process of auditing VAT refund audits by the private sector, which goes on, and it has worked. But we must move forward. This is affecting the working capital requirements of our manufacturers, not just VAT, but others, and we must move that on a timely basis. County levies are all over the place. Let's rationalize them. We are one country, and we must work as one country. Frequent changes to excise duty and VAT does not help us. It just makes confusion. I know that it happens for various reasons, but we just need to be a bit more focused on what we change. Export taxes must also be rationalized. And finally, the East African community. It is a great community to be in. Now that we have DRC, we're talking 250 to 3 million people, 300 million people. That is a big market for us, and that is before I even look at the Africa Free Trade continent. Let us harmonize the laws, not the rates, but the laws. And that's, with that, I know I've stuck to my 3 minutes. Thank you very much for hearing me, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nikhil. With your permission, Your Excellency, I will invite Mr. Kimani Rugendo to give us a brief case study of an SME scale-up. Bwana Kimani Rugendo, na nitakuomba kwa heshima. We make sure we stick to the 3 minutes. Kindly, sir, karibu sana.
Your Excellency, the President, captains of the industry, ladies and gentlemen. Though I've been given 3 minutes, mine is a long one. Mr. President, with your permission, I will ask for your 2 extra minutes so that I can paint the story as it is. I've been asked to talk about my company, but my company talks a median about SMEs in this country. Our journey started way back in 1992 when borrowing money in this country was a real, you had to know the bank manager, you had to be in very good terms, and at times they told you even giving you a checkbook was a privilege. So in 1992, money cost between 21 and 30% to borrow. Coming forward, today, borrowing money from the bank costs between 13 and 14%. You can see at least we are improving, but we hope with your able leadership, Your Excellency, we can come to 1 digit. That will actually help the growth of the industry. Your Excellency, SMEs account for 95% of farms in most countries. Estimated 600 million jobs will be needed globally by 2030, and 7 out of 10 employees will be in SME. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics 2016 report indicates SME constitutes 98% of all businesses in Kenya. SMEs contribute 33% of our GDP. Majority of SMEs in Kenya are informal. Sadly, Mr. President, 75% of SMEs die within 3 years of inception. In other words, Kevian is a lucky one to be among the 25% of SMEs that made it through to its 30th birthday since its inception in 1992. The objective of Kenya is to increase the income of small-scale farmers in Kenya along the agricultural value chain, which is very dear to you, as I know. Now, building programs, which has been our very, very major concern, and mentorship by extension services, and creating access to finance has made us support our suppliers, who are grouped in about 3,000 farmer groups. Our flagship product, Mount Kenya Water, was not only the launching pad for Kenya, for Kevian Kenya as a company, but was a pioneer brand in local bottled water industry. Mount Kenya Water has notably changed the lifestyle and landscape by paving way to other local and international bottled water brands since coming into the industry. Mr. President, Kevian Kenya Limited was the first company to launch juice in 100% fruit juice content, namely pick and peel, which came into market in 1999. This was a venture of passion and dedication and a priceless resolve that was seen the success of growth in Kenya. 7 years later, we have come up with other brands, Afia, and other fruit-based drinks, nectars, malt, and soft drinks. However, Mr. President, 2014, we brought to the market Kevian Sauce, Brilliant Culinary, and options for broad-based household items in the hospitality industries. In 2022, Acacia Kids was born, which is a stand-alone juice for children. I like to say here, Mr. President, our small-scale farmers supply us with tomatoes, they supply us with the passion, they supply us with the pineapple, they supply us with oranges, and they supply us with all other products that we process in Thika, where we process a capacity of 200 tons every day when the fruit is in season. Notably, it's good to mention here, Your Excellency, sir, that our journey for production also comes with the pain of having to collect the waste that we generate we embrace what we call circular economy by ensuring that we collect waste and we convert waste. Here in front here, I display boards made of waste material in Thika, where we have an installed capacity of up to 3,000 tons per month. This material can be used for in so many industries. 1, automotive. 2, low-cost houses. 3, can be also used by the builders when they are making their formwork. 4, it can be used for school desks. Also, when there was COVID in Kiambu, we were able to make COVID beds, 200 which we supplied to Kiambu within a very short time during the COVID time. We equipped one whole ward in Kiambu. Your Excellency, we have also embraced pencil production using, again, waste newspaper, as you can see it here in front. We think if all these materials are consumed, we would save our forest cover, we will also save our trees, and we'll be able to actually ensure that we have a very good environment. Yes, I know. Let me tell you. Mr. President, I'm being harassed. Our long journey has taught us a lot, Mr. President, and indeed the first real drive towards Kenyan-owned enterprise was highlighted by the infamous paper, section paper number 10. As I'm being harassed, I will still proceed, but tell you, Mr. President, back in 1990s, we are now talking about climate change. Our industry is really agri-based. With climate change, we are running short of rain. We can see animals dying. We see people crying, they are, of hunger. Your Excellency, back in 1960s, the then Kenya government, Ministry of Agriculture, in which you have also worked previously, was able to go and seed into high clouds and therefore induced rains. I believe it is still possible now, when we are suffering this way, with as many scientists as we have, we can still seed rain and induce rain and ensure that at least we get some harvest. As going on this way, we'll still keep on looking for food, importing food, which is really a disgrace. I'm finishing. Your Excellency, we cannot go without also mentioning the KRA. KRA, as we all love to pay tax, and indeed when I first received the first letter from income tax demanding some tax, I knew that they knew that I was in business. However, sometimes we think they become a nuisance by keeping on knocking over and over again in the same source, in the same offices where they had collected. If we can harmonize way of collection tax so that manufacturers have time to actually go on producing, I think that one can make it more friendlier between ourselves and KRA, and we'll be able to work together harmoniously. Going forward, Mr. President, we value the plight of our farmers, and with the changing global climate, as I've mentioned, it is worthwhile damming and ensuring that our land policy is strictly adhered to. Going to Thika Road, we lost all the coffee farms along Thika Road, and now we are looking for new growing territories. I believe it's good, and it's easy for us to stick to our agricultural policy and ensure that this competition between the farmers and home developers is actually controlled by home developers moving to more agricultural area and stick to semi-arid area for home development and leave agricultural area for agricultural growing. Mr. President, I know I sound a little bit, or I will land into troubles with quite a lot of these home developers, but I feel now that I should propose some solutions so that I can wind up. The gentleman here to stop looking at me really with very cruel eyes. Government have to ease access to credit. For instance, the Hustler Fund to be a game changer for the survival of SMEs. The government is to encourage constructive stakeholders engagement so that we foster meaningful relationship, i.e. between KRA and businessmen. Government to work with stakeholders to develop regulation and address late delayed payments and appoint a little sector regulator. For this, I'm saying we have seen the death of Uchumi, the death of Nakumat, the death of Tuskys, and the death of another South African chain. All this, Mr. President, went down with manufacturers' money, ranging to over 600 billion Kenya shillings. This money has never been recovered. Typically, we pay KRA tax on the 20th of each month of invoice. This late payment means if I give you credit for 3 months, I have paid your VAT 3 months. 3 months of tax is held. When such organizations go down, they go down with money which we are not also able to recover from KRA, and it is tax we had already paid. Your Excellency, this needs really re-looking into serious view from your able department there, and I'm sure with that we can harmonize and look for a way whereby it can be a win-win. Your Excellency, if I were manufacturing in Kisumu, taking goods to Mombasa in a branded vehicle, I would require a license to go through every county. Otherwise, goods keep on getting stopped on the road. Vehicles are detained. Some goods are perishable. They don't get to their destination. And I think it will be very good for your government, Your Excellency, to create a one license whereby one can take a Kenya license and they can all share from that pool to facilitate trade, to stop it from closing from border to border, whereby they are stopped. These people say, I need this license, otherwise I'll impound your lorry. Your Excellency, this is why I felt that I really needed a little bit more time to explain these things and to make sure that it comes out clearly to you, Your Excellency, because I know you hate lazy workers. I know you are a worker. When you call yourself a hustler, it means that you are a worker. And being a worker, these captains here promise you that they will put in hard work. But can we also be having regular consultation with you so that we can be telling you when it hurts, we tell you where it hurts, you easen up, and together we shall make Kenya grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimani Rugendo. We understand and thank you. Your Excellency, to close this session, I will invite Mr. Tess Babu. Babu, kindly take us only 3 minutes so that we move with the rest of the program. Tesh, karibu sana.
His Excellency, the President of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, captains of industry, and all distinguished guests, I'm humbled very much today to stand before you. As you can see, I embody the real hustler, and I'm glad to represent the 7.4 million MSMEs in this country who create jobs for over 15 million Kenyans. So we at Market Force enable these MSMEs to access products affordably, and we link them up directly with manufacturers. I am representing the youth and the technology sector because it is a huge enabler for various industries in this country to be able to grow. So today what we do is we have over 125,000 dukas across the country that we are supplying these goods to on a daily basis. And we've been able to expand this operation to Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda as well, where we have multiple dukas ordering, and we're currently working with Kenyan manufacturers and enabling them to be able to export their products into this market and not worry about how they distribute in this market as well. So we're expanding the market share for Kenyan manufacturers by doing that, and also supporting the small manufacturers in the country be able to extend their trade. So one thing I'd like to say is that we're very non-discriminatory when we come to working with dukas and mama mbogas. So we're very excited about the Hustler Fund and all the initiatives that the government is currently working on to spur innovation in this sector as we work with fintechs and other banks to ensure that credit is affordable for these dukas that we work with. In the process, as mentioned earlier, I won't belabor the point, but there's a lot of jobs that are created through the manufacturing sector. We employ 426 people directly today who support us in this distribution in the country. And we're very excited also by the administration that is coming in. There's a lot of energy. We're working closely, hopefully, with the new CS for trade, as well as the Kenya Association of Manufacturers CEO, as we look at how do we continue to support manufacturers to extend the distribution network. So quickly, I'll talk about the technology sector where we play, because this is very important. The last 6 months in Kenya, the first 6 months of the year, over $1 billion has been invested in over 76 Kenyan technology startups. And this is a very good direction for us. What I'd like to ask is, if the government can consider setting up a sovereign fund or something that can ensure as foreign investments are coming into the country, Kenyans are also investing in these companies, so that when the next M-Pesa, the next Amazon, the next Google, we have money coming back to Kenyans' pockets, not all the money being exported to the foreign investors who invested in us and many other companies in the space. So lastly, just to say thank you very much for this opportunity and this stage to present what we're doing at Market Force, and I hope that we'll continue to have more public-private partnerships that will continue to spur the country forward. We're excited and we're happy to have you, Mr. Excellency, in the next 5 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tesh. Your Excellency, with your permission now, I will welcome the Governor, Nairobi City Council, Honorable City County, Honorable Johnson Sakaja. Governor, karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. In the interest of time, I'll just make some quick remarks. Your Excellency, earlier on I was told I'll be invited to welcome people to Nairobi. But I told my friend, Mr. Wanjoi, our work is not to welcome people to Nairobi. These manufacturers are in Nairobi. And a lot of the solutions they need are in Nairobi. So we need to discuss that. So it's not just about welcoming them. Your Excellency, over the past few years, we've been engaging with the Association of Manufacturers at the Senate and in many other forums. And I'm glad that in the first few days, since we got into office as a county government, we've already met the Nairobi chapter of the Association of Manufacturers, and we've made progress on a number of issues. Number one, Your Excellency, we are determined to make Nairobi the manufacturing hub of East and Central Africa, and eventually Africa. That we are determined to do it, and we'll work. And that's why I'm asking the companies to come and tell us, what do you need from us? What we've agreed, Your Excellency, number one, is on the issue of a unified business permit. There are too many licenses being paid. As of now, we are 70% in the process of actually reducing it to one license for Nairobi County. But I'll prevail upon you and my friend Moses Kuria that you also reduce the ones from national government. Because manufacturers and SMEs are spending more time complying than doing their work. So today you're paying this license, kesho there's another license, the next day another license, and those avenues for rent seeking. So the county government of Nairobi, everything that we ask for will only be one license in the next few months. We have made progress. We are willing, Your Excellency, to also collect the national ones on your behalf. You have MCSK, you have PRISC, you have CAMP, you have so many others. We put them in one pot and then distribute. Let the business people focus on doing business, not on complying, Your Excellency. Secondly, I understand the issue of multiple cessing from county to county on advertising. If you're driving a truck from here to Mombasa, it's a discussion that we're having at the COG. We need to get a creative way of sorting it out, because I realize there's no governor who's willing to let go of their, revenue-raising capacity, but still we need to have, a way that doesn't hurt the businesses. Ideally, we would ask you to register in a county and pay that county, and of course that county would be Nairobi. The other governors will not be willing to do that, but we'd like to hear your ideas on how we ensure that counties still get the revenue without stifling businesses. Our work is not to stifle businesses or to stifle manufacturing, but actually to promote manufacturing. Your Excellency, additionally, we had a lot of complaints on those in building and construction, on the system that had been there previously, on NPDMS. I'm glad to note, and I'm very happy Mr. Mburu is here. Our teams, both at the Nairobi County Government and the KRA, have been burning the midnight oil for the last 3-4 weeks. Next week, we'll be launching a new Nairobi plan, where in that platform, all of the complaints that have been there from the building industry, Your Excellency, have been catered for. Professionals in the building and built environment sector can track developments from the time you upload an approval to the time it comes out. There must be predictability. Nikhila said you need certainty so that you know where your approval is at whichever stage of the process. Your Excellency, we're also going to launch next week our new revamped revenue system for Nairobi. We call it Nairobi Pay, which addresses all of these issues. And I want to urge the manufacturers here, please, lipeni ushuru. We will serve you. Already for those in the industrial area, I am doing 39 roads. We're doing 39 roads for you. Linus forgot to mention I did for him his in Kasarani before I was governor. We will give you the environment to do your work, but we need you to also support us to be able to serve you better. So we hope that it will be more efficient. There's no payment that will be received in Nairobi after next week in cash. We are digitizing all our revenue streams. If anybody asks for payment in cash, just know it is not Nairobi County. Everything will be digitized. And we know what has been happening in part of the city, Westlands, in the CBD, and in the industrial area. Your Excellency, additionally, a lot of the issues that our manufacturers have is water. The cost of water and the reliability of our water system. We all know we have a shortage. We need 850 million liters per day. We get 525. Your Excellency, through the national government and Athi Water, we expect 140 million liters to come in soon. But there's a challenge with the NLC because of the way leaves. We ask that you intervene so that it can come faster for us to be able to serve our industries and also for us to be able to recycle. But we will also now come to you because you've said we need a city of order and dignity. But you cannot have that dignity when many of our manufacturers are the ones who are polluting our rivers. It is yourselves who are polluting and engaging in illegal dumping. Once we provide and we're designating those zones, we will have to agree on what to do. Your Excellency, in your inaugural speech, you spoke about a Nairobi Rivers Commission. 70% of the effluent that goes into that river is industries and sewerage. We will sort out the sewerage system, but the industries need to be able to sort out They're effluent coming out of them. Your Excellency, additionally, as I just going to conclude, I think we need to, and I'm glad the young man who spoke just before me, talking about technology. We need to really radically ask ourselves questions about manufacturing and about where we're going. As a country, we cannot do the same thing and expect a different result, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, agriculture is great, and I'm glad I had my friend from Unga Group saying he's producing for us each a gunia. But your CS nominee for Treasury will tell you that in as much as you're getting 24% contribution to GDP, the contribution to national revenue is less than 3%. That gap is a value chain gap, which must be sorted out, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, China in 1952, 83% of people in China were employed in agriculture. In 1977, it went out to 77%. In 2012, it's 33% because of industrialization. It doesn't mean you're killing agriculture, but you're creating value to where we create jobs. And that is why we also need to, radically, and I'm glad your CS for Trade is a free thinker. Yeah, is a free thinker. As we discuss the Hustler Fund, which is important, I would ask that we do a balance. That yes, if I give a kiosk $1 million shillings more, will they hire more people or add more stock? But if I use that money to guarantee investment in rapidly scalable tech startups, that then, for instance, Twiga in 3 years was able to hire 700 people, where is there potential for creating jobs? So yes, we must sustain that, and we must give them a mboga, we must give the mom and dad shops, but we need rapidly scalable startups that then are able to hire more people. Your Excellency, in the Senate, I sponsored and passed a startup bill where we are providing that government just guarantees and de-risks investments, because we can't afford to put money into those startups. But there are angel investors out there who are willing to come and put money if there's a climate where there's de-risking of those small groups. The innovation in Nairobi is amazing. This is the Silicon Savannah. But we just need to provide that framework where we just de-risk these startups, that if somebody's investment at whatever first series or whatever point, if something happens, then they can recoup 30%, 20%, and that is how we'll address the issue of jobs. So we cannot just focus on the one, two shops. Your Excellency, please, we'll need support legislatively. We're doing that in the city. Finally, Your Excellency, I just want to thank you for the support that you've given us so far in being able to sort out the issues of, the Nairobi Pay, Nairobi Plan, what we've discussed together with you that we will be launching. We ask that you also support us in pushing the prompt payment bill, which we had left in the Senate. Many of these people have money owed in government. I inherited a pending bill of 99 billion in Nairobi County, with NMS having 16 billion. If we don't pay them, we can't create those jobs. I want to guarantee manufacturers, Nairobi is going to be the economic hub of this continent. Please don't move out of Nairobi. Stay in Nairobi, and we will make Nairobi work together. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Governor. And now Cabinet Secretary Betty Baina will invite Your Excellency. Madam CS.
Thank you very much, Wanjohi, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for spending this morning listening to the manufacturers and sharing their vision about things that can happen. We know your time is tight, and we are very, very acutely aware it is tight. So let me just thank you and invite you to speak to them at this moment. And thank you, Moses, for organizing this event.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's sit down. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I do not have anything to add to this conversation. I am thrilled by what I have had here. For once, we are having a different conversation. We are not having a conversation how difficult things are, the challenges, the problems, the hurdles, and all that. We are having a conversation about opportunity. And Every speaker here has spoken passionately about the opportunities that we have, from textile to leather to the whole array of opportunities in housing, in SME, and the whole array of that. I just want to promise you one thing, that this administration will work with you every step of the way until we redeem all the opportunities that are available for us as a country. You have persuaded me that it is possible for us to create 1 million jobs from the manufacturing sector. You have persuaded me that it is possible for us to move the contribution of our GDP from manufacturing from 7% to 20% in 8 years. So all that is standing between us and 20% contribution from manufacturing and 1 million jobs, and all the opportunities that you have ably elaborated this morning, is continuous engagement, continuous consultation, working together, and everybody realizing that nobody has the monopoly of good ideas, sharing those ideas, and making sure that we move together as a country. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, that I will be available, my administration will be available, the CS, Moses Kuria and his team will be available, our CS for Treasury will be available, so that we can actualize all these opportunities together. You have said ably, and if you've gone through our plan, from the whole array, from, for example, leather. We've had this conversation about leather. There is absolutely no reason why today we should not be a champion in the whole leather products space, because we are slaughtering 3 million livestock every year. We have the 3rd largest herd in this continent. Yet, we are importing 110 billion worth of leather products into Kenya. It completely doesn't make sense. As has been said here, we can increase our revenues. We can increase the contribution of leather to our GDP from the current 15 billion to 75 billion, because we have everything to make that a reality. I want to promise you that we are very clear about what we want to do in the leather space. We are very clear about what we want to do in the textile space, because we believe that therein lies the opportunity for us to create jobs and create wealth. And therefore, this conversation this morning is a very important conversation to me and to every Kenyan that is listening to us. You have said yourselves very ably, we have 16 million kids in school. They need a pair of shoes every year. We only produce 4 million pairs of shoes. Never mind all the leather products that would come with it. And we have the raw material right here. The raw material is rotting, and yet we are importing leather products, shoes, using other people's hides and skin when ours is going to waste. It doesn't require any genius. You know, we don't have, there is nothing for us to have a conversation about. We just need to connect our raw materials to the market, jobs in between, money in between, and all of us will be doing well. So it is my intention that this great potential that we've always had, the great opportunity that we have always had, we must make it a reality in the next couple of years. And I am prepared, I am willing to work with you in that space. All the paperwork has been done. All the plans have been documented. All we need to do is to plug and play. Make sure we bring this to a reality. And ladies and gentlemen, I am here, lock, stock, and barrel to work with you so that we can actualize those opportunities. The leather space, the cotton value chain is a big value chain that can give us all the jobs we need. We've just heard here, we have a market already negotiated by policymakers. $150 billion or $300 billion market. We are only doing $500 million on textile. We have the biggest resources around Kenya. We have the Dongo Kundu Special Economic Zone, which is going to be a huge plan for us. We have the Naivasha Industrial Zone, which is going to be another big investment opportunity for us as an administration so that we can leverage on the steam that we have for free. We can leverage on the energy at a lower cost, and we can build the whole ecosystem that will aggregate what we are producing. Listening to the small producers that I listen to outside here and listening to Tesh, it speaks to the power of aggregation. How do we make sure that every small producer and every small manufacturer and everybody who is adding some value to some product is aggregated and made possible for them to access the markets? I just want to ask industry, the captains of industry sitting here. Ladies and gentlemen, there is absolutely no reason why we are selling our tea unprocessed 95% in a space where we have the biggest competitive advantage. I want to promise you that whatever government is supposed to do, I have already had a conversation with our tea marketers, and I have told them that if it is required of me to invest in a common user facility so that we can add value to our tea, the government of Kenya is going to invest in a common user facility. It is not going to be possible and practical for us to continue to export our tea unprocessed. 95% of it, we are getting 120 billion now. We can get 400 billion shillings by merely adding value, period. The farmers are already working too hard to produce the tea. Who is failing our farmers? Our manufacturers. You guys. You're failing our farmers. Our farmers are producing all the tea, the third largest producer in the world, on half an acre, on 1 acre, on 2 acres. What we are doing, we are failing them because we are not adding value to what they are producing. We are continuing to sell our tea in the auction. We are getting peanuts for it, and many other people who do not have a single push, who do not have a single bush of tea, are making more money than us. Good people, our manufacturers, give us the value of our tea. You are the people who is standing between us and money. True? Our farmers are working so hard with close to 30 million units of herd of livestock. They have 3 million hides and skins every year. Is it being eaten by dogs? It's rotting. It's being buried in some places. When I went around Kenya with our economic fora, this was the issue everywhere. Mandera, Wajir, Tana River, the whole of that space, Kajiado. Farmers were asking us, livestock keepers were asking us, what are we going to do with our skin? Who is this group of people standing between us and the value that we can get from our skins and hides? You people. You are the people standing between us and 75 billion of product that we can sell. And we have a ready market, starting from our own children in school. Even the local market in Kenya alone, we are importing 12, 15 million pairs of shoes alone every year. Market is not the problem. Raw material is not the problem. The problem is the people to add value. They are sitting right here. True or not true? So, good people, as I said earlier, we must have a different conversation. We're having a conversation here about, you see, we have a problem with VAT refund. How does VAT refund stop us from adding value to the hides and skins that are going to waste? Muniambie. You know? So, and I'm not saying that there are no challenges. There are challenges. But there are bigger opportunities than challenges in our space in Kenya. Let us focus. Let us focus more in the opportunities that exist and less in the challenges that we have. We can overcome the challenges by leveraging on the huge opportunity that we have. We have a huge market. In EAC, in Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we now have the market infrastructure for us to take over the market in our continent. The reason why our continent is importing milk, powder, food, is because Kenya has not taken its place. Kenya is supposed to be the country that would position Africa appropriately to be able to make sure that we supply every commodity, every product that we should. Instead, we are having a quarrel, small quarrel. Oh, Uganda is bringing cheaper milk. Uganda should bring cheaper milk because they can produce it much more cheaply. We should be adding value to our own milk. We add value to our own milk, and I want to say here, we had a program of improving on our milk value chain. We had first 300 milk coolers. That product was sabotaged. That program was sabotaged because of interest. But I have gone back to that product. We are going to have another 660 milk coolers. We're going to add value to our milk. What we should be doing is our milk from our farmers. We should be adding value, producing butter, using it to produce powder, and go and sell it in DRC, go and sell it in Central Africa, go and sell it in West Africa. And then we get the cheaper milk from Uganda and we drink. Sindio? Yeah. Instead of having a quarrel with Uganda, why are we having a quarrel with Uganda? We are having a quarrel with Uganda because we have refused to take our rightful place in our continent. We should have made more steps and allow Uganda to come and occupy the next place as we move ahead. Are we together, good people? So we must have a different conversation. And I am happy that Moses is here. I have confidence in what Moses can do. I know he has a good brain. And working with you guys, yeah. This Moses Kuria, forget about the noise sometimes he makes. I promise you, he has a good brain. So we're going to work together in this space. And I want to give you, you know very well that I'm not a lazy person. Yeah? So I will work with you, and I will make sure that whatever opportunities that can be actualized, working together with you, we actualize those opportunities and move our manufacturing to 20% of our GDP in the next couple of years, 8 years, if not less. Access to credit is a big component of our plan. Financing is going to be a big component of our plan. There are some that we can cover with the Hustler Fund, but of course we have the Kenya KDC. KDC is going to cover your space. That is the area where we need to raise capital for industrialization, capital for manufacturing, capital for value addition, so that we can work with the SMEs, make sure they have access to credit, but also build the capacity of our Kenya Development Corporation so that we can also have resources available for the people in your space. So, good people, I am very happy this morning that we are having a progressive conversation. And I am very confident that going into the future, Kenya is going to move to the next level in our manufacturing and industrialization scale. I am looking forward, as we have all said, by 2030, we should be producing 1 million more jobs from manufacturing. We should take our manufacturing from the current 1 trillion of our GDP to maybe 3 or 4 trillion of our GDP. We should be able to move our contribution in terms of tax revenues and be able to work together. And I understand, and Mburu here will tell you, I have had a very intense conversation with him on matters tax. Yes, I've had a very intensive conversation with him. I have asked him very difficult questions because part of our revenue gets lost because the stamps that you use on your manufactured goods, we have more fake stamps than genuine stamps. How is that possible? You know, we have to sort that out because we are losing revenue. Part of why our contribution of manufacturing to GDP in terms of revenue is low is because very many people pocket our money, or the money meant for taxes. So we're going to reform that space. Mr. Mburu and his team have very clear instructions for me on where we should go. I believe that in the next 2 years, we should be able to move our revenues from 2 trillion to 3 trillion, and to double it in the next 5 years. Many people may not like that story because it means we are all paying taxes. But I'm sorry, everybody, we must all pay taxes, and I will lead the way by paying taxes. There will be no exemptions for people who are politically connected. There will be no exemptions for nobody. It's going to be the same yardstick for everybody. Are we together? That's the direction we are going to go. And I want to promise you, good people, that we will also make our tax regime predictable. I agree with you. I agree with you. Investments in manufacturing are long-term investments. You need a predictable tax regime so that you can know how your investments are going to look like. I agree with our good brother who said we need to reform our income tax, our income tax law, so that again we make it up to date. There are too many patches of it. Nobody knows how it looked like in the first place. So I agree with you that we need to do some work around that space. But as I work hard with our legislators to be able to improve that space, please make the opportunities that we have in this manufacturing space a reality for our country. It's good for your businesses. It's good for our agenda of job creation. It's good for our agenda of export-led growth, and it's good for everybody. So let me leave it there. I'm sorry. I really should have given more time to this meeting. I did not, I underestimated what we were coming to do here, but I promise that the next time I will give you more time because you are speaking the language of taking Kenya to the future. Asanteni sana, and I know there is a small function here to award some people. I hope we can do that in 2-3 minutes so that you can allow me to be engaged somewhere else. Asanteni sana, and God bless you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We will award SMEs, and the first one, Your Excellency, is winner in Human Resource Management, and it goes to B Care Apiaries. Quickly, please. B Care Apiaries, that's the first award. The second award to be followed by MacDev Holdings, American Limited, all in that order. Kindly, we start coming over so that we receive our orders. Let's take the president, the first one. Let's take the first one. If we take the first one to the president. Take to the president the first one. Your Excellency, the first one is winner in Human Resource Management, Big Care Apiaries. Congratulations, congratulations. The second one, Your Excellency, winner in Product Design and Development, MacDev Holdings. MacDev, quickly, thank you. We received the award. MacDev Holdings, kindly don't just move just yet. The third award, congratulations. The third award, Your Excellency, MacDev Holdings, winner in Good Manufacturing Practices. Thank you. Winner in Strategy Supply Chain Management, BK Apiaries. Quickly. BK Apiaries. Quickly, we move fast. The rest of us can sit kindly. BK Apiaries. The next winner in Innovative Sales Marketing Strategies, Seith Naturals. Seith Naturals, quickly. Winner in strategic planning, Gelio Collections, quickly. Gelio, quickly. And now the overall. Gelio, the overall, the second runners up. Gelio, quickly, kindly, thank you. In the overall category, the second runners-up is MacDev Holdings. MacDev, quickly. Thank you. To be followed by first runners-up, Gelio Collections. Gelio, kindly, move quickly. Thank you. Those are the first runners-up. And the overall winner, Your Excellency, Big Care Apiaries. Tuwapongeze kwa makofi, Big Care Apiaries, as they collect the overall prize. Haraka kidogo dugu, haraka kidogo, asante. You are the overall winner. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Na sasa niombe ukiwa hapo Mheshimiwa Rais, tuwe na wimbo wa taifa, sote tuweze kusimama, tuwe na wimbo wa taifa. Move quickly. The one who is moving, move faster. Wimbo wa taifa. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Niombe wengine tubaki tumesimama as His Excellency leaves at his pleasure. Thank you, Your Excellency.
you.